Welcome to Office Max. How can I help you? Take it to the max. Hey, tell me some of the jobs you had before you were a comedian. I was a waitress. I worked in an auto parts factory where I would hide in the boxes and try and take naps. I was a hardcore comic at the time and a hardcore waitress because I was good. I'm Virgo. I'm good at everything. I passed out flyers for the Boston Comedy Club on the corner of the McDougal and 3rd for 2 years. I sold vacuum cleaners, not door to door, the Mirage Hotel as a tour guide at the Dolphin Habitat. Wow. The tagline at Office Max was anytime a customer would walk in, you would have to say, welcome to Office Max. How can I help you? Take it to the max. And I couldn't do it. I worked in with my grandmother at this aviation place, and I remember I was going out with somebody from work, and she said that she was a whore. And I said, I know in stores, people would come in and I'd throw dirt in front of them, and then I'd vacuum it up. I was an assistant at Renaissance Pictures. I had to drive the dog van to the rich people's apartments and go into their house and grab their dog who was biting and nipping at me. I would come to the table and the customer would be like, you look familiar. Like, I seen you. I seen you before. Like, was you on Comic View? And I would be like, yeah, like breast in the wing or leg in the thigh. Seriously. Some people would even ask me to do the joke at the table. And he'd be like, that doesn't come with the number 2, bitch. That's the first time I got punched in the face, knocked unconscious, square in the temple off my feet. That was actually the last day I worked there. I worked in a hamburger place. Let me see here. I was a lifeguard and a sneaker salesman, so if you guys read my book, Life Lessons, I can't make this up, you would know that you didn't read my book. Go get it. Go read it. And also go on Audible and go get my other book, Decisions. Oh, guys, Kevin has a disease called promo. It says where he can't not promote things, and he made some progress. Sadly, that was a step in the wrong direction. Hold on, Kevin's texting me. Neil, sorry about promoting my book on that fundraiser. My mistake. When you get a second, check out John G2 now on video. God damn it. Listen to books on tape or anything like that. No, I can't do that. You can't listen to books on tape. I've never tried. I just can't. What would annoy me? Listening to the person trying to make it sound interesting, with the inflections and the voice and stuff. That would annoy you? Yeah. Because I'm defensive. Like, this guy thinks I'm a fucking moron, but it's just like, and then in 1862, read it like a bailiff. Read it like a bailiff, dude. I remember, I have that reference, and the bailiff read the thing. He said the arresting officer asked the defendant where he was coming from, and he stated fucking Boston. And it was just like, that's what I said. That's not the way I said it. I was fucking wasted. He said, I was trying to remember. He said, where'd you come from? I was like, fuck it, Boston. The guy goes, fucking Boston. You want to get out of the car? And I was like, yeah, I wasn't a jerk. Funny. I was standing there. There's all like these people who mug people, and they were like laughing like, oh, this guy's sticking it to the man, So we pulled the defendant over. After repeatedly asking the defendant to stay in the car, he got out of the car, threw his keys at my feet, and repeatedly stated, lock me up, I'm fucked up. And this was funny. Do you remember the guy who was he would do his shot, and when anybody would puke, he would stand over in the corner and not face him. He was facing the corner. So we started calling him Blair Witch. Everybody got there. So I'm crying, laughing, and then gagging as I'm telling the story. She was like, where do they find these people? And that just set me over the top. I was like, I don't know. I'm just crying, laughing. But God bless him. The reason why that thing's screaming is because it's biting its back. Okay, that's enough. That's a fix. That sounds like me trying to touch my toes every morning. I'm going to let you introduce the next topic. I don't know where to go with that, guys. Maybe you got eaten by a bear. Like, if you get a hold of a regular necks just comply. They just give. Can you please call your neck specials regular neck? I guarantee no one's going to try and accidentally take that title. Dude. I remember there was a fucking guy on the site. I swear to God, he wore the same fucking jeans every day with like no underwear, right? And it had a fucking giant fucking hole right here on his thigh. So I'm in fucking working in the house, and I just remember he stepped over something with his left leg, and the whole fucking hole moved, right? Just like flashed his fucking junk. I was just like, and I didn't know how to stand up to people. And plus, I was a new guy in the thing, and I just was wanted to be like, buddy, how about you put some fucking boxers or something? So I don't got to look at your fucking jaw. And first of all, he's walking around with like a goddamn nail gun. Not like boxers could stop that, but any extra layer of clothing that you could have. This guy's literally like his fucking shit, you know, like an owl looking out of a tree, and yet it's burned into my head. I could pick his junk out of a lineup. All those people are paying to be there. That guy is making, I want to see somebody out there scalping tickets, and he does Vegas too. He does the fucking T-Mobile Arena in Vegas. I want to see the show. Picture of him up there, his eyes open or... No, smiling and shit is crazy. It's a lot of money that guy's making. I used to say he's so full of shit, he can't look at the crowd. That's why his eyes are like, are they still here? Are they still believing this shit when you're lying? Eye contact is the toughest fucking thing ever, but whatever. He's they people feel good. He's making his fuck. He's in show business. I want to see the show, though. The few times I did movies, everybody told me, you just missed it. Or fucking missed it. It all ended in 05, 06. And I started getting work in like fucking 09. They were like, oh my God, they fucking pay for John Travolta's jet fuel. He'd come in his own fucking, you know, to do like one of those Hogs movies, like riding on a motorcycle. He'd be the, okay, you got to pay for my 747. So they're like, oh, John. Goes without saying, if somebody swipes your credit card number, that's their money. So then they call you up and they just go, hey, Joe, did you buy a ham hock in fucking Vancouver at a strip club? Why? No, I didn't. I was in Burbank. Good. Good luck with that. Has anybody ever bought a ham hock in a strip club? Dude, you've given me every piece of the fucking elk except that I've got some hammock for you. What do you fantasize about doing to him? Just running away. I don't want to hurt him. The guy's hurt by life. He's so damaged by life. I don't want to do anything to him. I just want to get the fuck away. I always picture those people and I have a giant roll of duct tape and I just put it on there. It's like a cartoon level speed. No, it's cartoon level. I just put it on their mouth and I go, and the last one, it comes up and over their head and then it hangs down. The whole rest of the tape is hanging down over their head awkwardly. And then I just go back to eating or whatever and they just sit there and slowly have to take it off. The only way I could get through that basketball guy is if I already told my wife that he did it. It annoyed me. And then what I would do is I would just be egging him on, going like, so why doesn't he play him? And just keep going. And then she would start kicking me under the table because she would start laughing. Hi, everyone. I'm Ivanka Trump. She's like Tracy Lord's sister in the 80s. He's got good-looking kids. He does. Amazing. She's good-looking, too. She's amazing. Hey, good for him. Good for him. And if Bill Clinton wants to vaguely look in the direction of a beautiful woman, I go to pick up my guns. I got 2 guns. I got a shotgun, too. But I broke it first day. Yeah, I thought I got the one that goes she. But he sold me the one that went hey. So I go to pick up my guns, and my arms dealer tells me, he's like, hey, man, he goes, I can't give you your guns. I said, why not? And he goes, none of your paperwork checks out. I go, what do you mean? He goes, all the bills are in your wife's name. Your car's in your company's name. I can't give you your guns. I started laughing hysterically because all I thought to myself was, our system works. How great is it that our system works? I looked at him laughing hysterically. I was like, dude, I feel safer knowing I can't get a gun than if you gave me 2 guns. I go, I'm so happy that our system works. And he looks at me dead serious and he goes, oh, you're getting your fucking guns. I was like, wow, I don't feel so good about this anymore, Kevin. He's like, no, we have a workaround. This is what he did. Called my wife on the phone, said, ma'am, I want you to print out a blank lease, then fill it out saying you rent a room in your house to your husband, fax it in to me. I get it. I'll give him his guns. My wife was cackling on the other end of the phone. Sorry, we're at full occupancy, Kevin. She sends it in. I get my guns. I love my guns. I do love my guns. I'm the kind of idiot. Yeah, I don't know if you're like me where you see a gun in a movie and I call up my arms dealer immediately. I was like, yo, Matrix Agent Smith, what gun is that? He's like, Desert Eagle 50 caliber. I go, sign me up. He's like, I can't do a 50 caliber in California. I'll get you a 40 caliber. I'll do a workaround in the office. I'll get you what you need. He's like, you can get a long gun too. What long gun do you want? I go, I need a shotgun. He's like, I just sold you a shotgun. I go, yeah, you sold me the circumcised one. I want the uncircumcised one where you can pull the hood back and just, he's like, you don't want another shotgun. You want an AR-15. I was like, whoa, slow down, brother. I go, I might not be the right guy for an AR-15. I lost my Glock for 9 days. All my wife heard was AR-15 and comes marching in the kitchen. Is that motherfucker trying to upsell you on an AR-15? Like, bitch met her talking. She's like, did you tell him you took your Glock in the shower with you? I'm like, woman, I go, Kevin, I'm not going to be a part of the problem in this country. I'm going to be a part of the solution. I'm not getting another one of these killing machines and putting out another population and losing it for 9 days and some kid finding it. All I want is my Desert Eagle, 50 caliber and a shotgun. My wife's next to me. She goes, that's the man I married. Kevin's on the other end of the phone. He goes, am I on speaker right now? I said, no. Then he goes, all right, cool. I'll have the AR-15 waiting for you. I said, bro, I really don't want the gun. He goes, give me 10 seconds and listen to me, Bert. In the event of an apocalypse, I'm like, I'm still listening. He's like, this is the best gun to defend you and your family. I couldn't even help myself. I was like, can you give me the one with the bump stock on it? My wife heard me say that and canceled my fucking lease. No, you ever meet somebody and they're so boring you feel like they poisoned you? Like you're talking to them and you're like, I feel like I'm dying right now. I think you did it. This guy's name is Craig. I met him. I made sure to get it. I'm going to remember you for the rest of my life, man.
Theo.
I met him at the bank. Is he a bank teller?
No.
Is he a security guard? Nope. What's his job? I don't know. I know. Whatever they call that guy that stands in the lobby of banks now, where like you walk in, you're like, do you work here? He's like, I think so. That guy, the lobby liaison. Well, I saw him. We made eye contact. I don't know how you work for me. If we make eye contact during the day, not at night, but during the day, out of human decency, I acknowledge you. So that's what I did. We made eye contact and I go, how you doing? And he went, and I was like, okay. So then I get to the second set of doors to walk in. And as I reach for that door, I hear you going to the bank. I go, is this still a bank? He goes, yeah, I go, I'd like to. And he goes, go for it. And I was like, okay, thanks. And then I reach back and he goes, I'm going to Virginia next week. Are you telling me that? He goes, you said, how you doing when you got here? I had to think about it. That's what I'm doing. I go, that's the craziest shit I've ever heard Habate say. And also not how that question works, but all right. And now I reach back and he goes, yeah, my sister lives there. And I'm like, how long has she lived there? Now I'm roped in. He goes, 15 years. And I go, you've never been. And he goes, now I'm starting to look at him like, hey man, do you drive to work or does somebody drop you off? You know what I mean? I think you could see it in my face because out of nowhere he goes, I drive. I was like, that's cool, man. It's cool. I drive too. That's crazy. I got to get in here. He goes, yeah, we're going to check out DC and we're going to see some monuments. I go, I would love to hear about it, but I have to make a deposit. He goes, well, I'll be here when you walk out. I go, you motherfucker. Fuck that guy and fuck everybody like him. If you have the audacity to tell people how you're doing when they say how you doing, that shit is rude and selfish. All right, I'm serious. There are two acceptable answers to how you're doing, fine and great. And if you're miserable, you say fine. You don't burden people with your real world problems during a courteous exchange. Yeah, you guys got the All Blacks. Let's be honest. It's all we see. Jason Momoa in the gym, and he goes, we were just watching your last night. And I go, really? He goes, yeah, you look way different. You're a fat piece of in the other footage. I was like, cool, man. I think we spent like 12 hours hanging out. He was the most genuine, humble, fun, warm, my best friend. I consider Jason and I to have a much, much more authentic and close relationship than I have with like Brett, one of the guys I do a podcast with. I had never performed stand-up in South America. I didn't even think it would ever be something that I would do. But I went to Buenos Aires, Argentina, had one of the best shows and also ate like a fucking king. And then we flew to Chile, had an amazing show there. I stopped in Peru, in Lima, Peru, and saw family, and then finished the leg in Mexico City, came back home, got a little bit of rest, and then had to ramp up for the 40-day European tour all the way west until we ended up in the UK. Also got to do stand-up in Madrid, in Barcelona, Copenhagen, Paris, London, Birmingham, and Glasgow. A whole tour came to an end in Iceland, which was such an epic ending. It was a great way to end it all. But working with Tom is, I mean, you really can't ask for anything better. I can't. I mean, it's, fuck, Dad, it's the greatest opportunity that I've ever gotten. He understands that, like, you know, if you treat your people properly, they're going to go above and beyond. The other thing that is a credit to him as well is that he's a very good judge of character, and he surrounds himself with great people, puts a lot of faith and trust in all of us. I, you know, by doing so, he really creates this environment that drives us. Nobody wants to be the weak link. You know, being on this tour and just meeting Tom 14 years ago has changed every single part of my life for the better. To have someone like that, that's like unconditionally supportive. Best year of my life. I love you, Tom. Thank you so much. To have someone like really take a chance on you, there's really no better feeling. I don't think I could ever tour with anybody else. Hey, Tom, Mike Cronin, I opened for View like 4 times this year. Probably don't remember because you're looking at your phone most of the time, but I just want to say I'm very proud of you and I think you are a good person. You're a good person and please give me more money, okay? So, how is it driving for Tom? Well, I've been thinking long and hard about what I was going to say, and to be real honest with you, I can't say anything good about the man. Nice of you to talk to him for the first time the whole tour time. Don't fuck this up. I already told you about eye contact. I look down. He's just mean. He's just mean. He's a mean man. Even when he's nice, he's meant I have places to go. Fed to see. Are you high again? We work 7 days a week. No time off. I haven't seen my family in 4 years. He just blew his nose. You got to do it again. Oh, great. No, on a serious note, he's a really good guy. He's a pleasure to work for.
Easy going.
But he isn't funny. That's about it, Sam. During COVID, I was desperate to get to Canada, and it was for a very important reason. I needed to ski Chelsea, Canada. Shut up, Kevin. Canada had very strict rules at the time. It was almost impossible to get in. But when I looked on Instagram, I noticed that Kevin was filming a movie up in Canada, and he was going back and forth from Canada to America all the time. One day he was in America for Thanksgiving, and the next day he'd be back in Canada. And this was when there was a mandatory 2-week quarantine. That's enough. So I called Kevin and I told him, I don't know what your secret is, but I need your help getting across the border. And here's how great Kevin is. He said, no problem, Chelsea. I got you. I'll just get you a gig on my movie. I said, great. Behind the camera in front, I don't care. I'll direct it if I have to. He said he'd even help me fill out the paperwork. I was so excited. He said, I got you, Chelsea. I got you. I got you. And that's when I learned that he would ask Kevin for a favor. You can always count on hearing these 3 words, I got you. And then you can count on never hearing from him again. That's ridiculous. So that's the kind of man we're honoring here tonight. The kind of man who would deny a rich white lady a ski vacation during a global pandemic. On Law & Order, they tie in current events to their episodes. Like, they try and weave in real news stories. So a couple years ago on SVU, they did a episode that was based on stories about sex addiction, because all these celebrities were coming out as sex addicts. So in the episode, there was a scene where the other detectives are trying to teach Ice-T what sex addiction is, and it takes a couple of minutes, and finally Ice-T gets, and they cut to him in this close-up, and he goes, oh, I get it. You mean like when someone drinks too much or snorts cocaine or bets the house on the ponies? I was like, yeah, you got it, man. And I was psyched that they understood and they could go on with the investigation. But I could have watched another 4 hours of Ice-T, just naming examples, just that shot of him. Or like when someone smokes too many cigarettes, or like when someone shops too much with credit cards, or like when someone plays too many scratchy lotteries, or like when someone eats too much chocolate cake and he would just keep talking and it would slowly fade out and say, created by Dick Wolf. Thanks very much. My name's John Mulaney. You're live. From scene, that's what gets him off. Just buy a can of Wasp. Bear spray. Think about it. If Wasp or bear spray was so great, then why isn't any law enforcement agency using them? Pepper spray is your best choice. Wasp spray has a disclaimer on it that it's a crime to use it in any manner other than what it's for. This is just the kind of stuff overpaid lawyers love to argue about in court. Most of us lawyers charge by the quarter hour. But regardless what a can of pesticide claims is, the law isn't necessarily accurate. Turn the Ring camera off and take care of business. Sex offenders need to be dealt with on the spot. You can call the ambulance afterwards if you want. Hold them and place them under citizen's arrest and the police will show up. Just wear gloves and a face mask, and actually it's not a joke. Be careful. So I'm sure what he wants is contact. Maybe you just got a shake weight for Christmas. I've seen the vid. Now if it was a tiny shake weight. I'm coming late to this discussion, so maybe someone has mentioned this, but semen is considered a biohazard, and that should get someone's attention. You can jerk off all you want, just don't do it in front of women and children. If you want to do it in your house, nobody cares. Nobody wants you to get arrested for that. Don't be ridiculous. Yeah, we thought it would be punk rock if we sat down. Yeah, this ain't your father's late night. My email got hacked a few weeks ago, but it was kind of cool as it was the thing where they hack into your email. Has this happened? They hack in and then they send like a weird spam link to everyone in your address book. So I basically sent a spam link to everyone I know, which was kind of nice because I don't keep in touch with people. So that's my bit for the year. That is my Christmas card as far as I'm concerned. And then everyone wrote back to me to tell me I'd been hacked. So I heard from everybody. It was nice. It was like I had a baby or something. Email viruses bring people together in amazing ways. One guy I know emailed me and he said, hey, clicked on the link you sent. I don't want to buy any herbal Viagra. And he wasn't being funny. I've known him for 17 years. He's not a funny person. He's an idiot. And so what I liked about that was a few things. One, he clicked on the link. Who the hell still clicks on the link when you get the spam link? And this, by the way, this was the ugliest internet link I've ever seen in my life. It had like dollar signs and swastikas and looked like a virus. I don't mean an internet virus. I mean, it looked like if HPV was a website written out. He got that in a blank email and he went, okay. And he clicked on it. He was intrigued. And then he is taken to a website that sells something called herbal Viagra. His first thought is that I am now selling herbal Viagra. But do you know what kind of offended me? It was that he thought that that's how I would sell herbal Viagra. That I would be that piss poor of a salesman, that I would just put a link in a blank email with the subject line, check this out, which I've never said before in my life. And then in the to column, I'd write everybody, and I go, man, this speaks for itself. If I was going to email everyone I've ever met about a very shaky new business I was involved in, I would write a long, like, introduction letter before I got to the link. I would be like, dear friends and family, comedy did not work out. Also, have you ever wanted to try Viagra, but you fear the side effects of the non-herbal kind? Well, me and my Cayman Island business partners have the solution for you. Just click on the swastika below, and in seconds, you'll be taken to the world's ugliest website. I hope you can read pink on purple, as that is the layout we have chosen. Thank you. So, I didn't pause for that, but that's nice. I paused for that. That's why I pause. I turned 30 recently. I watch movies very differently because you understand, for years and years I was a child, and when I would watch an action movie, I would identify with the action hero who's trying to help people. Now, when I watch an action movie, I only identify with, like, the side characters who are off in the corner rolling their eyes. You know, the ones that are like Spider-Man, like those types. That's how I'd feel if I heard about a Spider-Man, you know. Who's my favorite action hero when I was a kid was Michael J. Fox's Marty McFly in Back to the Future. Who was my hero? I love Marty McFly. He's great, right? I wanted to be like him in every way. I watched that movie again recently. Marty McFly is a 17-year-old high school student whose best friend is a disgraced nuclear physicist, and I shit you not, they never explain how they became friends, and we were all fine with it. We never even asked, that. We were just like, who's his best friend? A disgraced nuclear physicist. Okay, yeah, proceed. Yep, no, it's good. Proceed with the movie. I know Back to the Future is a great movie and a hit movie. It's a very weird movie. I just watched it again. It has a lot of weird things in it. Two guys had to go in and sell that movie. Two guys had to go into a movie studio and be like, okay, so we have an idea for the next huge family action movie. And it's about a guy named Marty, and he's a high school student, and he's very lazy. He's always sleeping late. They're like, okay. Is he cool like Ferris Bueller? No, but he has a best friend. Yeah, who's a disgraced nuclear physicist. I'm sorry, I'm Omag. This is another student, oh, no. This other guy is either like 40 or 80 even. We don't know how old he's supposed to be. Anyway, so one day, the boy and the scientist, they build a time machine. Whoa. Okay. I think I see where this is going now. Let me guess. They build a time machine, and they go back in time, and they stop the Kennedy assassination. Oh, no. Yeah, that's a really good idea. Yeah, we didn't even think of that. Okay, well, what do they do with the time machine? Well, now I'm embarrassed to say. All right. Here goes nothing. We thought, that it would be fun for people if the boy, he went back in time and he tried to fuck his mom. We thought that would be fun. And then, oh yeah, no, but don't worry. He doesn't get to fuck the mom because this family friend named Biff shows up and he tries to rape the mom, in front of the son. And then the dad, he has to date the RA rapist off of her. And we're also going to say that a white man wrote Johnny Bay good. So we're going to take that away from them. Well, this sounds like a fantastic movie. We are definitely going to make this. Now, you say that they go to the past. Do you want to call it Back to the Past? No. Back to the Future, right? But they go to the past, yeah. Oh, hi. My email got hacked a few weeks ago, but it was kind of cool. It was the thing where they hack into your email. Has this happened? They hack in, and then they send like a weird spam link to everyone in your address book. So I basically sent a spam link to everyone I know, which was kind of nice because I don't keep in touch with people. So that's my bet for the year. That is my Christmas card as far as I'm concerned. And then everyone wrote back to me to tell me I'd been hacked. So I heard from everybody. It was nice. It was like I had a baby or something. Email viruses bring people together in amazing ways. One guy I know emailed me and he said, "Hey, I clicked on the link you sent. I don't want to buy any herbal Viagra." And he wasn't being funny. I've known him for 17 years. He's not a funny person. He's an idiot. So what I liked about that was a few things. One, he clicked on the link. Who the hell still clicks on the link when you get the spam link? And this, by the way, this was the ugliest internet link I've ever seen in my life. It had like dollar signs and swastikas and looked like a virus. I don't mean an internet virus. I mean, it looked like if each PV was a website written out, he got that in a blank email and he went, okay. And he clicked on it. He was intrigued. And then he is taken to a website that sells something called herbal Viagra. And his first thought is that I am now selling herbal Viagra. But do you know what kind of offended me? It was that he thought that that's how I would sell herbal Viagra. That I would be that piss poor of a salesman, that I would just put a link in a blank email with the subject line, check this out, which I've never said before in my life. And then in the 2 column, I'd write everybody and I go, and this speaks for itself. If I was going to email everyone I've ever read about a very shaky new business I was involved in, I would write a long like introduction letter before I got to the link. You know, I would be like, dear friends and family, comedy did not work out. Also, have you ever wanted to try Viagra, but you fear the side effects of the non-herbal kind?
Well, me and my Gaming Island business partners have the solution for you.
Just click on the swastika below, and in seconds, you'll be taken to the world's ugliest website. I hope you can read pink on purple, as that is the logo we have chosen. Hi, that was you. Thank you. I didn't pause for that, but that's nice. I paused for that. That's why I paused. I turned 30 recently. I watch movies very differently because you understand, for years and years, I was a child, and when I would watch an action movie, I would identify with the action hero who's trying to help people. Now, when I watch an action movie, I only identify with like the side characters who are off in the corner rolling their eyes. You know, the ones that are like Spider-Man, like those types. That's how I'd feel if I heard about a Spider-Man, you know. You know who's my favorite action hero when I was a kid? It was Michael J. Fox's Marty McFly in Back to the Future. He was my hero. I loved Marty McFly. Great, right? I wanted to be like him in every way. I watched that movie again recently. Marty McFly is a 17-year-old high school student whose best friend is a disgraced nuclear physicist. And they never explained how they became friends. And we were all fine with it. We never even asked, we were just like, who's his best friend? A disgraced nuclear physicist. Okay, yeah, proceed. Yep. No, just good. Proceed with the movie. Mm-hmm. I know Back to the Future is a great movie and the hit movie. It's a very weird movie. I just watched it again. It has a lot of weird things in it. 2 guys had to go in and sell that movie. 2 guys had to go into a movie studio and be like, okay, so we have an idea for the next huge family action movie. And it's about a guy named Marty, and he's a high school, and he's very lazy. He's always sleeping late. They were like, okay. Is he cool like Ferris Bueller? No, but he has a best friend, who's a disgraced nuclear physicist. I'm sorry, I'm confused. This is another student, or I don't know. No. This other guy is either like 40 or 80 even. We don't know how old he's supposed to be. Anyway, so one day the boy and the scientist, they built a time machine. Whoa. Okay. I think I see where this is going now. Let me guess. They build a time machine and they go back in time and they stop the Kennedy assassination.
I don't know now.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. Yeah, we didn't even think of that. Okay, well, what do they do with the time machine? Well, now I'm embarrassed to say, all right, here goes nothing. We thought, that it would be fun for people if the boy, if he went back in time and he tried to fuck his mom. We thought that would be fun. And then, oh yeah, no, but don't worry. He doesn't get to fuck the mom because this family friend named Biff shows up and he tries to rape the mom, in front of the son. And then the dad, he has to beat the rapist off of her. And we're also going to say that a white man wrote Johnny B. Good. So we're going to take that away from them. Well, this sounds like a fantastic movie. We are definitely going to make this.
Now, you say that they go to the past.
Do you want to call it Back to the Past? No. Back to the Future, right? But they go to the past.
Yeah. Good night, Montreal. Thanks for your time, everybody.
You've been wonderful. Thank you. People say, do you ever smoke marijuana? I go, I don't need another reason to be hungry. Like, you ever seen a guy hit on a woman through a group of other people? Like, not even bother walking up to her, just like yells at her, like, hey, you with the tits, you guys move, what's up? I'm Greg. Like that guy. My name is John Mulaney, and a few things about myself. I should tell you, for years I was a child, and during that time I went to a school, right? But I was terrible in school. I was awful at it. My worst subject was math. Worst. And in the grade school that I went to, they did this thing one year where they divided all the kids up into two different math groups, right? Based on your abilities. And the first group that you would be in was called the Blue Angels, and it was named after the famous aviators. And the other group was called Group 2.
Yeah.
Oh, we were a swell bunch of kids in Group 2. The best part of it is we picked the name ourselves. The teacher was like, what are we going to call you, Group 2? And we were like, bingo. You got it right there. 4 and 5 is 12. My name is John Mulaney, and a few things about myself I should tell you. For years, I was a child, and during that time, I went to a school, right? But I was terrible at Tittle school. I was awful at it. My worst subject was math. And in the grade school that I went to, they did this thing one year where they divided all the kids up into two different math groups, right? Based on your abilities. And the first group that you could be in was called the Blue Angels, and it was named after the famous aviators. And the other group was called Group 2. Yeah. Oh, we were a swell bunch of kids in Group 2. Best part of it is we picked the name ourselves. The teacher was like, what are we going to call you? Group 2? And we were like, bingo, you got it right there. 4 and 5, 12. I watch two crime stuff. I do too many crime dramas. I love Law and Order. That is my favorite show on television. I love Law and Order. Good. I love Law and Order because it's the same episode every single time. Like, it's the same thing again and again. Law and Order is to the point that, like, you see the same types of characters on every Law and Order. Some of my personal favorites, I see there is a guy who, while being questioned by homicide detectives, he will not stop unloading crates. Doesn't matter to this guy. Double rape and murder. Nah, he's got to unload that van. The detectives will show up with all these serious questions, and this guy is just like Tony Ramirez. Yeah, I remember him. He used to work here Tuesdays, right? It's like, dude, people have died. How often are you questioned by homicide detectives? I love Law and Order, and I miss Jerry Orbach more than dead relatives of mine. He was the best. He was the best. For those of you that don't know who that is, Jerry Orbach. He was a wonderful actor. He played Detective Lenny Briscoe on Law and Order for many, many years. He was also the dad in Dirty Dancing. He's the one that put Baby in the corner. That's right. He was a wonderful actor, but a couple of years ago he died. Now, you may know that, or you may not know, and I am not lying to you, Montreal. I wouldn't do that. After Jerry Orbach died, this is absolutely true. He donated his eyes to the New York Eye Bank. He was an eye donor. So there's these signs all around New York that say, Jerry Orbach gave his heart and soul to the gift of acting and the gift of sight to two New Yorkers. Two New Yorkers got Jerry Orbach's eyes. Sorry. Like, as a transplant, not just they got them put in two different New Yorkers. Though that is fascinating to me because they're two different New Yorkers. They probably don't know each other, right? They're probably strangers. Well, that would make a great movie. That would make a great romantic comedy. Oh, I can see the preview now. They're just like, he's an average guy who only likes sports. Dude, you sold your grandmother's wedding ring. What? It was for season tickets. She's a businesswoman who only likes business. Right? Could you turn off that Bluetooth? We're in a baptism. He's March Madness. She's Merrill Lynch. Got it. Like, they have one thing in common. They both have Jerry Orbach's eyeballs shoved into their face. New Line Cinema presents Love at First Sight. This summer, love is spelled with two eyes, and the scene, I thought a lot about it. Thank you. And the scene where the guy and the girl finally find each other, because the first act of the movie, they get the eye transplant. That's a given. The rest of the movie, they're walking around New York, but they keep like crisscrossing paths, like in that movie Serendipity, which is not bad. So they're walking around. They're like, oh, when are they finally going to meet? And here's the scene where they meet. Okay. Because if you remember on Law and Order, whenever Jerry Orbach saw a dead body, he'd date a funny little joke. He'd make a one-liner every single time. So the guy and the girl are coming down the street from opposite ends of the street, all right? And there's an alley in the middle of the street, and there's a teacher lying dead in the alley. At the same moment, they both go, school's out. And then they lock eyes, Sam. Good evening. Nice to see all of you. I hope you're having a good summer. I'm kind of excited. I'm about to turn 29 years old. I think that's very cool. I, however, don't feel that I look any older. I think I just look worse. Like when I'm walking down the street, I don't think people are like, hey, look at that, man. I think they're like, whoa, that tall child looks terrible. Get some rest, tall child. Yes, you can't keep burning the candle at both ends. But, you know, I was a child for years and years, and it was a lot of fun. It was very weird to be a kid because I was so young, and some things made me nervous when I was a little kid, and they don't make me nervous at all anymore. Like I always thought that quicksand was going to be a much bigger problem than it turned out to be. You watch cartoons, and quicksand is like the the thing you have to worry about behind actual sticks of dynamite and giant anvils falling on you from the sky. I got older. Not only have I never stepped in quicksand, I've never even heard about it. No one's ever been like, hey, if you come in to visit me, take I-90, because I-95 is quicksand right now. You know, I hear all these stories about bullying, and I think it's terrible. The bullying that happens in school is really bad. I was bullied when I was a little kid. I was bullied when I was in school for being Asian American. The biggest problem with that is that I am not Asian American, but this is absolutely true. When I was a little kid, I looked like I might be Asian American. Like I have pretty thin eyes. I had very thin eyes when I was a kid, and I had straight black hair that I always wore in a bowl cut. And honestly, from the ages of 3 to 8, people thought that I might be a young Chinese person. And kids in school would bully me. They would call me a chink and a gook. Or 2 different nationalities, but that didn't seem to bother them at all. And those are really offensive words, by the way. I'm sorry to use them, but imagine how I felt because I was getting called that and I wasn't even one of those. My family isn't the least bit Chinese. I mean, we take our shoes off when we come inside, but that's more of a carpeting thing than anything else.
Here's how bad it.
When I was in 7th grade, we had this appreciation class that we never appreciated, and they took us to hear classical music once at a symphony orchestra. So we're at the symphony orchestra, and in the middle of one of these classical pieces, they banged a big gong. And every time they banged the gong, all the kids sitting in front of me would stand up, turn to me, and bow like that, which is some racist ass bullshit, but also very well coordinated group of 13-year-olds. Those were some slurs. I do apologize for using those. Although you can basically say whatever you want on television now, you can really say anything you want on TV. And if you don't believe me, you should watch a little show called Law and Special Victims Unit, because they will say the grossest, sickest shit you've ever heard in your life. No, on Special Victims Unit, they can't say the F word. They can't say the F word. But people will walk around being like, looks like the victim had anal contusions. Yo, looks like the victim had semen and fecal matter in his ear canal. Those are 2 actual things I heard on Law and SVU at like 3 in the afternoon. Both spoken by Ice-T, by the way. Ice-T is a detective with the Special Victims Unit, Mr. Cop Killer. ICET has been with the SVU, about 11 years now. He still treats every case like it's his first in terms of total confusion. Like, they'll be in the middle of an investigation, and Ice-T will be like, you telling me this dude gets off on little girls with pigtails? It's like, yeah, he's a pedophile. You work in the sex crimes division, you're going to have to get used to that. You know how in Law & Order they tie in current events to their episodes? Like, they try and weave in real news stories. So a couple years ago on CBU, they did a episode that was on stories about sex addiction, because all these celebrities were coming out as sex addicts. So in the episode, there was a scene where the other detectives are trying to teach Ice-T what sex addiction is. And it takes a coup of minutes, and finally Ice-T gets it. And they cut to him in this close-up, and he goes, oh, I get it. You mean like when someone drinks tutu or snorts cocaine or bets the house on the ponies? I was like, yeah, you got it, man. And I was psyched that they understood and they could go on with the investigation. But I could have watched another 4 hours of Ice-T just naming examples. Just that shot of him or like when someone smokes too many cigarettes, or like when someone shops too much with credit cards, or like when someone plays too many scratchy lotteries. Or like when someone eats too much chocolate cake, and he would just keep talking and it would slowly fade out and say, created by Dick Wolf. Thanks very much. My name is John Mulaney. You're a lot of fun. So I am divorced. Don't be sad. Divorce is just a legal term for no one has farted in my bed in 2 years. Why would you get a facelift? Can't you look at other facelifts and realize they haven't worked all the bugs out yet? My name is John Mulaney, and a few things about myself I should tell you. For years, I was a child, and during that time, I went to a school, right? But I was terrible in school. I was awful at it. My worst subject was math. And in the grade school that I went to, they did this thing one year where they divided all the kids up into 2 different math groups, right? Based on your abilities. And the first group that you could be in was called the Blue Angels, and it was named after the famous aviators. And the other group was called Group 2. Oh. Oh, we were a small bunch of kids in Group 2. Best part of it is we picked the name ourselves. The teacher was like, what are we going to call you? Group 2? And we were like, bingo, you got it right there. 4 and 5 is 12. I watch Yo Much Crime stuff. I do too many crime dramas. I love Law and Order. That is my favorite show on television. I love Law and Order. It's good. I love Law and Order because it's the same episode every single time. It's the same thing again and again. Law and Order is to the point that, like, you see the same types of characters on every Law and Order. Some of my personal favorites. There is a guy who, while being questioned by homicide detectives, will not stop unloading crates. Doesn't matter to this guy. Double rape and murder. Nah, he's gonna unload that van. The detectives will show up with all these serious questions, and this guy is just like Tony Ramirez. Yeah, I remember him. Used to work here. Tuesdays, right? It's like, dude, people have died. How often are you questioned by homicide detectives? I love Law and Order, and I miss Jerry Orbach more than dead relatives of mine. He was the best. He was the best. For those of you that don't know who that is, Jerry Orbach, he was a wonderful actor. He played Detective Lenny Briscoe on Law and Order for many, many years. He's also the dad in Dirty Dancing. He's the one that put Baby in the corner. That's right. And Wes, he's a wonderful actor, but a couple years ago he died. Now, you may know that or you may not know. I'm not lying to you, Montreal. I wouldn't do that. After Jerry Orbach died, this is absolutely true. He donated his eyes to the New York Eye Bank. He was an eye bank. He was an eye bank. He was an eye bank. So there's these signs all around New York that say Jerry Orbach gave his heart and soul to the gift of acting and the gift of sight to 2 New Yorkers. 2 New Yorkers got Jerry Orbach's eyes. Sorry. Like, as a transplant, not just a 2 have, like, they got him put in 2 different New Yorkers. Though that is fascinating to me because they're 2 different New Yorkers. They probably don't know each other, right? They're probably strangers. Well, that would make a great movie. That would make a great romantic comedy. Oh, I can see the preview now. They're just like, he's an average guy who only likes sports. Dude, you sold your grandmother's wedding ring. What? It was for season tickets. She's a busy businesswoman who only likes business.
Marry sim.
Could you turn off that Bluetooth? We're at a baptism. He's March Madness. She's Merrill Lynch. Got it. But they have one thing in common. They both have Jerry Orbach's eyeballs shoved into their face. New Line Cinema presents Love at First Sight. This summer, love is spelled with 2 I's and the scene. I thought a lot about it. Thank you. And the scene where the guy and the girl finally find each other. Because the first act of the movie, they get the eye transplant. That's a given. The rest of the movie, they're walking around New York, but they keep, like, crisscrossing paths. Like in that movie Serendipity, which is not bad. So they're walking wild. They're like, oh, when are they finally going to meet? And here's the scene where they meet. Okay? Because if you remember on Law and Order, whenever Jerry Orbach saw a dead body, he'd make a funny little joke. He'd make a one-liner every single time. So the guy and the girl are coming down the street from opposite ends of the street. All right? And there's an alley in the middle of the street. And there's a teacher lying dead in the alley. And at the same moment, they both go, school's out. And then they lock eyes. Good evening, Montreal. Thank you very much. So what I'm trying to say is I lock my leftovers in the safe. So if anybody plans on robbing room 830 of the Hyatt, that's going to be a real shitty score. Clap your hands, sir. Stop being racist. Clap your hands, Jesus. You were kind enough to send me a cut of this last month. This is such a wonderful special. Oh, thank you, and it's you. It is some other adult guest stars, like people like Richard Kind and Natasha and Jake Gyllenhaal. Yeah, but mostly it's kids. Oh, yeah. It's me and 15 kids, ages 8 to 13. And why did you have this idea to work with children? I thought it'd be funny and I needed something to do. And America Sawyer, who you know very well, fantastic writer, amazing comedy writer, who I worked with at Saturday Night Live a lot. We always wanted to write for kids. We wanted them to add kids to cast of SNL at one point and have like a little update that they would cut to. So they go from Seth and Amy to 2 kids, remember? And Lauren was like, we're not doing that. So we had this idea. And then I just started thinking about writing kids talking like me, and I thought, that's great. So there's some of that. And then there's big musical numbers, you know, keep people entertained. And then we also interviewed them a lot on camera. That is, I mean, the songs are fantastic, and I'm not the least bit surprised by that. But one of the parts that really resonates is the kids talk directly to camera. you hear your voice. You hear Reese Thomas, the wonderful director, America's Voice. And a lot of what they talk about is the things they're afraid of is, yes. We asked them what their biggest fears were, and then were they surprised by their answers?
Yeah.
Because I thought like it's 2019. I was born in 19. So, like when I was 7, I was afraid of like tarantulas, and I wonder what kids in 2019 are afraid of. And like you can speculate from the news and everything, and a lot of kids are still afraid of tarantulas. And I don't know why, like they're really not a thing you come into contact with. Yeah, certainly not in New York City, I want to point out. This is everybody at the premiere. Oh, yes, which is fantastic. They all dressed up, and when I first met you, sorry, they demanded that it be black tie. We were on set one day in July, and they went, is there going to be a premiere? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, with a red carpet. And I was like, yeah. And they're like, and everyone dresses fancy. And I was like, all right, yeah, I like this because I feel like when I first met you, you sometimes look like a kid who is dressed up like an adult. And it's fun to see you with that. What that actually looks like. Yes. This was me on an average show night. Yeah. What was it like auditioning them? Oh, well, we started off like 50 or 66 kids, and we would have that. They'd come in to do a song. And sometimes a kid, you could tell like, oh, she might be good at this type of energy. So sometimes we'd assign them a song. So this very talented young girl, Lexi, we told her to do You Already Know by Alanis Morissette. And we told her parents, could you ever prepare You Already Know? And she came in and she said, I have You Ought to Know to Sing by Alanis Morissette. Is set. And we're like, great. And she's like, but just the appropriate parts. And I was like, what? And she's like, just the appropriate parts. And I was like, well, yeah, don't. Yeah, you forgot. I forgot the whole point of the song. Then we talked to them, like just kind of loosely interview style. I gave them. I had a couple questions. And then there was one round of kids where I'd say, fill in the blank. America has a lot of blank. And so I'd say, America has a lot of, and some kids said like hamburgers, and some kids would choke and be like, and some kids would say people. And this kid, Alex Bello, who's very talented, who's in the special, I said, America has a lot of, and he said, work to do, you've talked. Like, I think it was your last special about how you're not gonna, you don't want to have kids. Yeah. You have any? I have a couple. Yeah. Sometimes I do. Most of the time I'm happy.
Sometimes I wish I'd talk to you, but yeah, you two have more free time.
You talk to them about it, though. Try it. I mean, they must have been curious. So one time on set, we were holding for a while, and they said to me, so you don't want kids? And I said, no, I don't. And then we had a conversation about it as if they weren't kids. They were like, why not? And I was like, well, my wife and I really enjoy our time together, and I like having my free time to do stuff. And, I think they are great, but I wouldn't want anything to come between that. And they were like, that makes sense. And they were talking it out. This one girl went, you might like kids. And I was like, maybe. And she went, yeah. And then we were all doing a shot the next day. My wife Anna came by set and walked in, and I went, that's my wife, everybody. And everyone went, hi, Mrs. Melanie. And then this little girl is not a little girl. Wonderful girl, Camille. Camille turned to me and said, does your wife know you don't want kids? It was late. And we talked to him about it, and he was still late. And he would, even into his late 30s, would say it was the traffic, and it was that he left late, or, boy, that's a tough thing to ask somebody to say. Well, that's going to be, I just want it said to everyone. Listen, don't sugarcoat it. Like, can you imagine being at my funeral and they just said positive things, and they weren't like, he kind of was like a little rotten prince. Like, you thought I was mad at you when you just telling me, no, I didn't. But now I'm worried that you're going to think, no, I was thinking you were rotten. No, I think that I was sometimes a little, I was holding in a kind of tantrum sometimes at the show, but I think we all were. It was a sleep deprivation. It's used for torture. I think that you had an ability to smoke weeds. I didn't know, like, you know what I mean? Like, I knew other people were mad at me, and I was like, is that not knowing? Yeah, which is your own, it's a credit to your restraint. But but that can be weird. Being hard to read is weird. Yeah, it can be a detriment. It could be good in business negotiations. Poker. Yeah. Although I don't think I would be able to hold it in poker, because I don't know what's good or out. I would just be like Jack Queen. But yeah, no, my dad told me, he said, he goes, this is the best advice I'll ever give you. if you're on a business call and you don't like what the other person is saying, let's say you don't like their offer or you don't like the decision they've reached, just say nothing. After they tell you, just stay silent. After a few seconds, they'll go, "Are you still there?" And you go, "Uh-huh." And then it'll be silent again. And then they will start to backpedal and make concessions because people hate silence so much that they would rather give in than have discontinue. That's a very effective. Yes. And when he told me it, I was an adult and I thought you used that on us when we were kids. I'd call him and be like, "Can I see an R-rated movie?"
You still there?
Huh. So, yes. So I would like the speeches to include my faults, and I would like someone to point out that I really enjoyed life. Like, I really liked it, and again, I'm talking in the past tense, yeah, but I'm still here. I'm glad you're still here. Thanks, man. No, genuinely, I'm glad you're here today. And I think the thing, if I was at your funeral, the thing I would have wanted to do is this question. If you spoke at my funeral, what would you say is the next question? Is it really? Yeah, on my fancy list, yeah. And I said this to you before. You said my eulogy to me.
No, it's a piece of.
I always said, like, I think one of the reasons that people are so happy for your well-deserved success is, one, that it's well-deserved, and two, all that time at SNL, you were such a fan of other people. You were so supportive of other people. And I think it meant a lot because everyone knew the minute they met you that you had sort of impeccable comedy taste. And I think that a kind word that you were very gracious with and very generous with, I think it meant a lot to a lot of people, myself included. I appreciate you saying that. And certainly my life has been a great deal richer since I met you. Yeah, mine too. You also recommended me to audition, which is how I got the theater job. And if you didn't want me to be a writer, I wouldn't have gotten the writing job. So you really did change my life. And, well, I don't know. I heard Werner Herzog say, I don't know if people change each other's lives, but you made my life better because it was like, I liked being a comedian. It was great, but it was like picking up rocks on the ground. And then you were like, "Do you want to go to the moon?" And it's still kind of picking up rocks, but like it's on the moon.
No.
It totally changed the direction of my life. Oh, like every conversation we have, I am happy we had it. And I love it. You don't want the last question? Oh, yeah. What's the last question? You ever seen out of it? No. Has your mom or anything?
Yeah, no one.
I thought about it when you were in Capable Dress, when you talked about ghosts. I thought, I don't know. I've never seen a ghost. It's been my go-to icebreaker for a while now. Yeah, normally at like that. By the way, a high school kid at a party with that outfit asks that question. That's what he thinks a girl wants to hear. Stares at her for a while. Can I help you? You ever seen a ghost? Would she go out with him? It's a question at the end of the movie. They'd be making out just for a cutaway. That's my go-to icebreaker. If I'm at a wedding and I'm sitting next to someone, I don't know, because I get put at a rando table, I will often say, "Have you ever seen a ghost?" And people, if they have not seen a ghost, and a ghost is a dead person whose soul or spirit is now ghoulish and haunting. Ghoulish, yeah. And normally if they haven't, one of their relatives has, or like, no, but my best friend's house was haunted. And it's a remarkably effective, terrible icebreaker. Sometimes I use it incorrectly. Like I'll be at a party and I don't know how to act at parties. And the group of people will be talking and I'll walk up and be like, "How's everyone doing? You ever seen a ghost?" And then that sounds like you are a ghost. "Oh, you mean like you have now?" Like, yeah, well, you have now. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's good. A place to end it. Should we end it with the cast of Sneakers again? But this time we nail it. And now there's Nazis again. When I was a kid, Nazis was just an analogy you would use to decimate your child during an argument at the dinner table. There's new Nazis. I don't care for these new Nazis. And you may quote me on that. These new Nazis, oh, Jews are the worst. And Jews ruin everything. And Jews try to take over your life. It's like, you know what, motherfucker? My wife is Jewish. I know all that. How do you know all that? I'm allowed to make fun of my wife. I asked her and she said yes. I've been married for about 3.5 years now. And I was going out on tour and, oh, thank you very much. And I love and respect my wife very much. So I said to her, "Hey, we've been married for 3.5 years. And she knew that. I said, "Do you mind if I still make fun of you on stage?" And my wife said, she goes, "Yeah, you can make fun of me. You can make fun of me, but just don't say that I'm a bitch and that you don't like me." I was like, whoa, the bar's so much lower than I ever imagined. That's it. Also, I wouldn't say that. What kind of show would that even be? Hello. My wife is a bitch and I don't like her. Yeah, it's like a support group for men in crisis with keynote speakers John Voight and Alec Baldwin. Also, I would never say that, not even as a joke, that my wife is a bitch and I don't like her. That is not true. My wife is a bitch and I like her so much. She is a dynamite 5-foot Jewish bitch and she's the best. She and I have totally different styles. When my wife walks down the street, she does not give a shit what anyone thinks of her in any situation. She's my hero. When I walk down the street, I need everybody all day long to tech me so much. It's exhausting. My wife said that walking around with me is like walking around with someone who's running for mayor of nothing. My wife and I went to Best Buy to get a TV. We didn't end up getting the TV. I was afraid that the Best Buy guy was going to be mad at me, so I bought an HDMI cable. And I go up to the register with Anna. My wife's name is Anna. She's standing next to me. I hand the guy the HDMI cable. He takes it, he scans it, and he says, "Do you have a Best Buy rewards card?" And I said, "No, I wish." And then my wife said, "Jesus Christ," and fully walked away from me. Walked all the way over to the laser printers and just stood there, Blair Witch style. And I'm still up at the register, and the guy goes, "Do you want a Best Buy rewards card?" And I said, "No," even though I had just said it was my greatest wish. I was hoping he believed me that it was secretly my great wish, but that I'm in an abusive marriage with little Miss Jesus Christ over here, so I can't ask for the things I want in public, but at home at night we argue about it. And I'm like, "You'll see. One day I'm going to leave you and I'm going to get that Best Buy rewards card." She's like, "Jesus Christ, you're never going to get that Best Buy rewards card." My wife is Jewish. As I said, I was raised Catholic. We have differences in our religious upbringings, and we realized this recently, not with our kids, because we don't have any kids. People always ask us, "Are you going to have kids?" And we say no. And then they go, "Never. You're never going to have kids." Look, I don't know. Never. 14 years ago, I smoked cocaine the night before my college graduation. Now I'm afraid to get a flu shot. This is very exciting. There's so much exciting to talk about, but this is your 9th time on the show. You have moved into a tie for first place, what with your arch nemesis, Martha Stewart, for first place in terms of guests on the show, most times being on Seth's show. Yeah. Me and Martha Stewart, 9 times each. Oh my God. Yeah. She was a full guest. Or some of them were cooking. Some of them were cooking. Then I win. Yeah, that's true. That's fully true. That's a segment. That was so exciting. I was watching the Emmys and you won the Emmy for this wonderful special that I was lucky enough to see at Radio City. How was that night? I was totally surprised. It was amazing and extremely flattering, but I was just shocked to win. And I've been before and sometimes it's not fun. So I was sitting there like, why do we do this every year? Why do we come to this? And then they said my name and I was like, oh, this is true love. I was very happy because it cut to you. And Dan Levy, who is a dear friend of yours, was your date for the night. World's funniest comedian, Dan Levy, was my date for the night. And I'm lucky enough to know him as well. And it was really a genuine moment of friendship from Dan when you won, and there he is next to you. Oh, yes. There's also our friend Michelle Wolf, who's genuinely happy for you. Look at Dan and I. That is like the typical like Catholic and Jew hearing good news, him like, wow. And I'm like, okay, don't get too proud. A moment that probably helped you not get too proud is Deadline, which is a website that sort of does it's a website. Yeah, it's a website. Yeah, it's a website they do that's breaking news. Throughout the Emmys to win, they pride themselves on knowing the most about Hollywood. Yeah. And so they put up a you won and they misspelled your name. Now, I will admit, when I first met you, I had an issue with Mulaney because I sometimes accidentally would put 2 L's. And then I learned pretty quickly into our friendship. It's 1 L, but that was not even the issue with them. No, they screwed up on John. Yeah, Juopen. Ask your doctor about taking Juopen. Oh, wow. What happened there? What happened moment at the Emmys was right after you won the winner for Best Director of a Variety Special. Proposed to his wife, which was sort of this indelible moment at the Emmys. How was that for you? Well, I was backstage and I was in the glow of being a hypocrite and now loving awards. And then everyone started going like, and I was like, yes, indeed, it's me. And they said, this guy proposed and good. That's great for them. I wish them a long and happy marriage. Really stepped on my moment. No, you only get so many. They will be married forever. I'm only going to be there holding a trophy for a couple hours. That's La Vie Juopa and Mulaney. They got Mulaney, right? They nailed Mulaney. They got every part of it, right, Jofin? And you definitely look like a John. If there were two people there, they were like, is it John or Jofin? You feel like somebody would be like, it's John. It's definitely Jeffing. People would get Mulvaney wrong sometimes. Like, add two L's over Mulvaney, which is, I guess, a name which sounds ridiculous to me, Mulvaney. Yeah, my name is Mulvaney. And to me, Mulvaney, it's like, that's not a name, right? That sounds like if I like had a throbbing vein, the New York Post would be like Mulvaney, like. But to me, that's not a regular name, and yet people around this great nation walk around with the name Mulvaney. They have your New York Post headline. Yeah, they have a goofy name that's a wrong lighter. That's no life, yeah. I went to college for the whole time. Holy shit, right? I just got a letter from my college, which was fun, because mail, you know. So I opened up the letter, and they said, hey, John, it's college, you remember? I said, yes, of course. And then they said, how did they phrase it? And they said, give us some money as a gift. We want a gift, but only if it's money. I found this peculiar because, you see, what had happened, New York, was that when I was a student, you see, I had paid them a tuition money every semester, 2 semesters a year for 4 years. I don't remember exactly what it was, but rounding up back in 1999, it was about, $15,000 a semester, 2 semesters a year for 4 years. So it was about $30,000 a year for 4 years. So it was about $120,000, okay? So roughly speaking, I gave my college about $120,000, okay? So you might say that I already ate him $120,000, and now you have the audacity to ask me for more money. What kind of a coke head relative is my college? You spent it already. I gave you more money than the Civil War costs, and you fucking spent it already. Where's my money? I felt like Jimmy Stewart and It's a Wonderful Life when he's screaming at his Uncle Billy. I was like, where's the money? Where's that money? You fat motherfucker. Where's my money? Stay down on the ground. Stay down on the ground, you motherfucker. That's not the dialogue, but do y'all remember that scene from It's a Wonderful Life? Great movie, Frank Capra in 1946. Some 112,000. And I have friends I went to college with, and they're like, oh, you should donate and be a good alumnus. And they wear shirts that say school. And it's like, look, if you're an adult still giving money to your college is one of $20,000 hooker. And you're an idiot who fell in love with her. She's not going to do anything else for you. It's done.
In their letter, they were like, hey, it's been a while since you've given us money.
I was like, hey, it's been a while since you've housed and taught me. I thought our transaction was over. I gave you $120,000. And you meet like a weird cinder block room with a Reservoir Dogs poster on it. And the first real heartbreak of my life, and probably HPV, and then we called it a day. Probably also, what did I get for my money? What is college? Stop going till we figure it out. Because I went to college. I have no idea what it was. I went to college. I was 18 years old. I looked like I was 11. I lived like a goddamn Ninja Turtle. I didn't drink water the entire time. I lived on cigarettes and alcohol and Adderall. College was like a 4-year game show called Do My Friends Hate Me or Do I Just Need to Go to Sleep? But instead of winning money, you lose $20,000. By the way, I agreed to give them $120,000 when I was 17 years old with no attorney present. That's illegal. They tricked me. They tricked me like Brendan Dassey on Making a Murderer.
They tricked me like poor Brendan. They pulled me out of high school. I was in sweatpants, all confused.
2 guys in clip-on ties are like, come on, son, do the right thing. Sign here and you'll be an English major. I was like, okay, yes, you heard me. Minning major, I paid $120,000. How dare you clap? How dare you clap for the worst financial decision I ever made in my life? I paid $20,000 for someone to tell me to go read Jane Austen, and then I didn't. We're joined now by one of my dearest friends, and you can hear him right now on the new. Oh, hello, the PCS. Please welcome back to the show, John Mulaney, everybody. Do I sit into it? Yeah, you can sit in. You want to walk into it like you're... Yeah, okay. We'll have Fred add some music and post. Am I waiting for my name? John Mulaney. Hi. Hike. Oh, my dog, Barkley. How are you? Seth, I'm very happy to have you here. You are, as you know, you are the record holder for most frequent guests on the show. Oh, I still have it. Yes, still have it. Martha Stewart, very close. Excuse me, she was just on, and I feel as though it's good to always like keep the same buffer between you and her, which is I've won over Martha Stewart. Yeah. I think that's just for safety, right? Right. Okay. I mean, I'm always a little nervous with her hellhound on my trail like that. Yeah, exactly. I like asking people how they're spending their time during quarantine. I sort of picked up from social media that you're watching old television shows. Yeah. Well, I'm catching up on Real Housewives of New York, starting from season 1, which took place in 2008, and I'm currently in season 3, which is I believe we're in late 2009. Gotcha. You know me, like Orange County, Beverly Hills guy. What was the impetus of going back and watching that? You've never seen it. I'd never seen Real Housewives of New York. I was very aware of it, and then my wife Anna said that's leaps and bounds beyond Beverly Hills and Orange County, and I'd never seen a lick of it. So she said, let's start to season 1. And we did. And it's fantastic. You do like it. So it's living up to her high standards? Yeah, I like it very, very much. Yeah, her endorsement was exactly right. Have you ever seen it? I haven't. I remember we'd sort of be on, at SNL in the corner sometimes, and I never really watched it. Do you know Bethany Frankel? I met Bethany Frankel a few times. Yeah, a few times. Okay. I remember you had a bottle of her vodka in your office. I might have been. I feel like it was maybe tequila, though, but I can't remember. I feel like Bethany Franklin, her name's also on a tequila. Yeah, fantastic. Like a skinny, teeny, maybe. So I'm getting this all mixed up, all those words, skinny, teeny sound, right? Based on watching Real Housewives, that led you to take the Myers-Briggs personality test. It didn't lead me to take it, but I did begin thinking where I fit in among the housewives, And I do that with most seasons, be it Orange County, Beverly Hills, or now Roni, which is Real Housewives of New York. I try to figure out who I would be in the show and how I would deal with a different conflict. One thing they never ever do ever on that show is apologize. No, wow. So let's say that I said that you were tacky, Seth, and that you were tacky and you show up to events like a stalker. I made that up. So that I could easily be on the show.
Right. I tell Fred this.
Fred tells you immediately. We're at a function within hours together and you call me out on it and you're mad at me. Sure. The way I would apologize is to say, so I just want to put this behind us. And you hug me and you go, okay, I said, we're good, right? We're good. And never would I say that I insulted you directly on camera, knowing it would get back to you with a little remorse. I would just say, we're good.
Right.
I wanted to this behind us. You've also noticed that it does seem as though the characters on those shows are hyper aware that they are on reality shows. Yeah, especially in the beginning of Real Housewives of New York, because it's not a new concept, a reality show. It's been around for about 8 years by the time Roni starts, but it's easier to say Roni, but they still talk about it. If you watch Rehoboth though, with his Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, if you watch Rehoboth, that island that people go to, they don't talk anymore about how they're on a reality show. But in Real Housewives of New York, circa 2009, someone will say something like, well, I don't want to share that. That's personal. And the rest of them go, we're on a reality show. You have to tell us. And they'll be like arguing with each other and be like, well, why would you do that? Let's say because it's a reality show. And so they're very aware when they're in an event that they are marketing themselves. Oh, someone might say, why is there a skinny girl margarita sign up? And she says, because it's a reality show and I'm marketing myself very self-aware and on the nose. Are there parts of, does it show you a part of New York that you're nostalgic for? Especially during this time where we're stuck inside every part of outdoor New York. I'm nostalgic for. But this drives home how nostalgic I am for any part of New York, because they'll show like First and 70th. I'm like, oh, that's only 8 blocks from the United Nations, an area I hate. Oh, York and 80th. Oh, walk there against the wind.